Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. I am very excited today because we have the CEO and co-founder of Forethought, and that is Deon Nicholas. And Deon, I like to talk about people that are in the trenches, and this is what this guy is doing. He is in the trenches, understanding what people, customers of all types of customers expect. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. We're going to be talking about chatbot. We're going to be talking about agents. We're going to be talking about friction that is created and what we can eliminate. All things customer service and experience. Before we get into the interview, a couple of quick announcements. If you have a question and you want me to answer it, or a story you want to share, just reach out to me on any of the social media channels. I am everywhere. If it is a question, use the hashtag AskShep. I'll either answer it there in the medium or perhaps in my newsletter, on this show, or my TV show, which is Be Amazing or Go Home. That can be found on Amazon and Apple TV, Roku, C-Suite TV. And now we actually put some of the episodes on YouTube. We're into our third season, and all you need to do is go to beamazing.tv. That's beamazing.tv. All right, let's jump into this amazing interview with Deon Nicholas. Welcome to the show.
Shep, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm excited that you're here. You are the CEO and co-founder of a company called Forethought. And if somebody wants to find out what Forethought is, of course, they can look more on the web, forethought.ai. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Right up front, we say that. And what Forethought does, and the way I interpret it is basically artificial intelligence giving a human-like experience, not only supporting customers for quick answers, but also supporting agents and helping them deliver the best answers to customers. How'd I do, Deon?
That's great. Absolutely. So at Forethought, we build human-centered AI to transform the customer service experience. And as you said, Shep, we like to focus on the entire life cycle of a customer service inquiry, from helping the customer self-serve proactively to helping the agents when they need answers and information. And so we bring AI and intelligence to this entire process.
Great. So give us an example. I mean, here's what's really cool. If you go onto the website, you can actually see case studies where it says, here's a ticket that's submitted or a question that's asked, and you can see the exact process, how it works. It's almost like a live demo without having to put in your email information and having a salesperson call you, which, by the way, I love that. I know we're going off the subject here, but how many times have you gone and said, I am interested in learning more about this company, but the only way it's going to happen is if I give them, the information. Now they're going to call me, they're going to bother me. I just don't want to do it. I'm going to move on. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, absolutely. I think as the technical and technological landscape's evolving, customers want to do more information and research upfront before they buy a product. And so, yeah, it's happened so many times where it's like, hey, I just want to learn more, but there's no way to do that without talking to a salesperson. We've been guilty of that sometimes as well. So that's why we're trying to put a lot more of our demo material up front.
But I think any company, if there's a big customer experience, if we can, and as you mentioned, so much of the customer's journey, the research they do happens before they ever want to talk to somebody. So as companies, we should give them the information. And by the way, that information can come in the form of a chat, just answering questions. Tell me more about this. What's it going to cost? What requirements do I need to be able to use your system properly? Whatever the question is, doesn't matter. I think that's great. Let me just get very high level, general, if we can. You're in this business of trying to create a better customer experience. What is the ultimate customer experience? Do you have a definition of that?
The way I like to think about the ultimate customer experience is probably in three ways. So one is proactive, two is empathetic, and three is understanding. So what I mean by proactive is that oftentimes you can probably figure out that a customer is going to have an issue well before, we think about the customer service world, and that's usually once the issue arises. But how do you think about bringing it all the way back into the product of knowing what are the most common issues that your customers are facing and trying to be there when you need them. And you can use that, you can use artificial intelligence and other technologies to do that, or you can just build that into your product. Second, I talk about being empathetic. One of the things that a lot of businesses, I think, forget is that at the end of the day, every single technology, every single business is created kind of by humans for humans, right? And so really understanding that once a customer has an inquiry, whether it's on the customer service side or in general wants to use a product, it's because there's a problem that they're trying to get solved. There's an emotion, there's a state that they're in, and really understanding where the customer is at emotionally, being empathetic to that, and meeting them where they're at is oftentimes 1,000 times more important even than, for example, the information that you bring, right? And then third, understanding. The most frustrating thing that we've all been through is when you, for example, interact with a product or interact with customer support, you ask a very simple question and the agent, or if in the case of traditional chatbots don't understand what you're saying, right? And so if you can be proactive, empathetic, and actually understand what is the core problem that this customer is asking about, sometimes it's the question behind the question. Those are the three ways I think of creating a truly amazing customer experience.
Right. And the fact that your company is focused so much on AI, I would imagine that what you're trying to do is create, well, let's just look at understanding for a moment. And then I want to go back to empathy. I think that's a real important point I want to ask you about and talk about. But when we talk about understanding, your thinking is, if I ask a question, and I'll give you a great example, and some of our listeners may have heard this. I'm not going to tell you the name of the company, but it's a retailer. I go online, I'm looking at a docking station for my computer. I may have done this when you and I talked in our interview. We had
many years ago.
Yeah. So anyway, this happened quite a while ago, but I'll never forget when the chatbot pops up, what can I help you with, or whatever. And I said, I'm looking at this docking station. Will it charge the computer when I plug it in, or do I need a separate power cord just for the computer? And the chatbot comes back and asks me, which computer are you interested in purchasing? I'm not interested in purchasing any computer. I'm interested in purchasing the docking station. Tell me about, and it kept asking me the same question over and over. It didn't understand me. And that would not have happened had I been talking to a human. But are you telling me the AI is getting good enough that it would understand my question? And when it sensed my frustration, could ask something else or give me a different.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. And so, and it really goes through that stack. So thinking about understanding, I think that's the perfect use case. You used a couple words in that example, like charging, right? Like docking station. There are so many ways in which a computer can mess that up. Charge can also mean pay by credit card or sell something, right? And so I could imagine that bot just being based on keywords can mess up in dozens of different ways. No, do you want to purchase a computer, and so on and so forth. That bot does not truly understand what you are asking. It's responding to certain keywords and pre-programmed keywords. What we've focused on here at Forethought is truly building what we call a natural language understanding engine. And I would say over the past maybe half a decade, about 5 years or so, there's kind of been this renaissance in natural language understanding technology that we're working on here at Forethought, that folks are working on in different labs, that is enabling machines to better understand what humans are actually saying, actually asking, and so on. And so instead of having to hard code, when I see the word refund, go and issue a refund. But if you, Shep, go to the website and say, hey, I just want my money back, and you don't hit that, that one keyword, then, right? And in the old days, the bot would have no idea what you're talking about. With modern natural language understanding, systems are able to do that now. And that's what's really important here.
Does the system have the ability to recognize, wow, I'm not giving the customer the right answer, let me flip the conversation over to a live person?
Absolutely. And that's why we like to think about this entire customer service journey. I think a lot of people, and obviously, talking about AI, the first thing people think about is deflecting customers, right? And what we like to think about is, no, it's not about deflecting the customer. It's about solving their problem, right? It's about understanding, it's about addressing the issue. Sometimes that means using a self-serve manner and interacting with the bot. But in many cases, in fact, probably half of cases, you still should be getting that person to a human. What if it's a judgment call, or there's a safety issue, or trust and safety issue, or a compliance issue? These are the kinds of things that require human judgment and, again, human empathy. And so we've, even at Forethought, built one of our really popular products. Our triage product is about connecting the customer to the agent in the right channel at the right time. So we're actually under the hood trying to predict, hey, how well are we answering this question? Are we getting the question right? Are we seeing a tone dip? Things like that in terms of sentiment. Okay, let's get this person to a human right away. And so the beauty of real human-centered AI is not just in being able to resolve the issue, but it's also being able to recognize when the best thing to do is to get out of the way.
I love that. So a smart AI solution is going to say, I'm not giving the customer what they want. Let's give the customer an agent who might better be able to take care of them, because they may have the misunderstanding may not happen. Also, I know I mentioned this early in the top of the show. The AI also supports the agent. Now, I don't want to get into that right now because it's time for a break, but I want to talk about two things for sure. I want to add a third if we have time. Number one, I want to talk about empathy, because that was number two of your proactive, empathetic, understanding list. I want to get back to, can AI really be empathetic, and what does that really mean? I want to talk about exactly what we just mentioned now. Is AI good to support agents? And number three, if we can get into friction and how to make things better and easier for customers, what does that mean to you? And what should our customers be expecting from the best brands in the world? We're going to take a short break. We'll come right back. Don't go away. Hi, Shep Hyken, your customer service and experience expert, and I'm excited to tell you about my new book, I'll Be Back: How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Now, this book is packed with idea after idea on how to, just as the title implies, get your customers to come back. In the book, you'll learn that repeat customers aren't always loyal customers. Now, both are great, but there's a big difference. You'll also learn about 10 reasons a customer may stop doing business with you, and 3 reasons you would stop doing business with them. And one of my favorite lessons is a 6-step process for creating an I'll Be Back strategy. Of course, there's much, much more. You'll start getting more of your customers to say, I'll be back almost immediately. Just go to www.illbebackbook.com. Again, that's www.illbebackbook.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Deon Nicholas, the CEO and co-founder of Forethought. And we are talking all about the digital experience, artificial intelligence. I want to talk about empathy, which you mentioned, proactive, empathetic, understanding. That was just a little while ago. We talked a lot about the understanding recently, but how about the empathetic? And here's my question. You made a comment. What we are building is built by humans to be used by humans, something to that effect. So even if you're building a digital experience using artificial intelligence, you're a person who's creating the code and doing all the programming that's going to be used by a human. Are we building empathy? Because during COVID, that was like the biggest word of the year: empathy, empathy, empathy. All of our agents have to have empathy. They have to really understand what the customer is feeling and going through. Can you do that in AI?
I think you perfectly can. The problem is that it doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by inertia. A lot of AI and data systems are built by definition on data, but you have to get pretty clever about what is the data set you're building this technology on. A good example of this is sentiment analysis, and this has been done for a long time, even pre kind of the modern machine learning world. Even just being able to predict, is this customer happy or angry or neutral, right? Positive, negative, neutral score. You can build modern machine learning systems to do that by looking at past cases, past conversations, Twitter, and then having labels and a supervised data set in order to do that, right? And that's a very simple use case around empathy, but it's one we all have heard of. It's one we all kind of know about when we think about technology. And so I truly believe that if you go deeper and think about what does it mean to be truly empathetic and get creative around that, do we know if our customers' sentiment, for example, is getting worse over time or better over time? You can pretty quickly figure out, okay, am I actually answering their problem? Am I actually helping them? There are other things you can pick up with machine learning and natural language understanding systems, like tone, exclamation marks. Are they starting to get angry? You can actually figure out a lot of this from emails or from phone conversations. I don't think there are a lot of systems out there that do that, but it's kind of an interesting body of research that I think, over the next decade or so could be really powerful.
Yeah, if you just take a look at 10 years ago and where we are today with AI and chatbot, it's like almost a human-like experience. And the way I know that I'm dealing with a chatbot rather than a human is how quick the response comes, which
exactly.
It's like,
all right.
I'll ask a technical question and within 3 seconds, I have 3 paragraphs in front of me. Now, I know somebody didn't type that fast and understand me that quickly, but that's all right. I'm totally fine with that, especially if it gets me the right information. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, we program to try to understand we can spot when a customer is neutral, upset, happy. And then we flip it over to the agent. And I want to talk about this before we get into friction and convenience. And that is AI being used to support agents. So many companies think it's specifically used to take care of customers. And many customers think that as well. But oftentimes, the agent knows exactly how to ask the right question to get an answer that would allow that answer to be passed on to the customer. And it just makes it easier for everybody.
One of my mentors once said the 3 most important factors in real estate are location, location, location.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 most important factors in business are people, people, people.
Wow.
Right. And it's really important to remember that. Again, it all goes back to the fact that every organization, no matter how streamlined or whatever you want to describe it as, every organization is built around its people. In particular, customer experience organizations or customer service organizations are built around the agent. And you're starting to see modern businesses realize this more and more. For example, with knowledge-centered support, right? When an agent responds to a problem, can we use their response as the basis for a future knowledge-based article? And by doing that, you're actually building up this entire data set or content center, which is much more powerful than if you had, say, a director of customer service just thinking what are the most common problems, right? And that's the same is true when you leverage AI. The same is true when you leverage technology. How do you bring technology into an agent's workflow so that they can start to feel like superhumans, right? And you can leverage their expertise. They're the ones on the floor answering questions every day. And of course, we like to think about this at Forethought with our Assist product and things like that. But I think in general, as you think about the entire customer service experience, yes, we want to create more self-serve, but at the end of the day, we want to use all of the resources that we can to solve the customer's problem. And it always, always, always starts with our people.
Yep. Here's a question for you. Let's see if I can articulate this properly. Will the AI not only support the agent and answer a question, but would the AI also be able to look at the customer, understand who the customer is from past experience with that customer, and be able to maybe predict based on all these other customers that are exactly like this customer and support an agent that way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. So these are all inputs. These are all data, right? So what has this particular customer responded or asked about in the past? What's their history? What have customers like them asked about? And how have other agents answered these kinds of problems? If you can take all of this as historical data and feed it into a system that is built to understand this, what you can get for the agent is at their fingertips, suggested responses. Hey, this is a problem about password reset. Here's how we've seen agents respond with password reset in the past. In fact, here's a link we think might be the password reset link. And you can show that to the agent. Or here is this customer. They've had these 5 problems in the past. They're probably asking about their router, or they're probably asking about their charging station, right? And so all of these things can become information that is pulled up at the fingertips of the agent when they log into their help center or their ticketing system. And that is the kind of thing that we power here at Forethought. But again, this is the kind of thing you can think about, whether you're an AI practitioner or just a leader in the customer service experience. How can you get all the right knowledge into the fingertips of your agent so that they are knowledgeable and they're responding to these customer problems with an expert mindset?
Right. And it's like personalization at that point. It's like, wow, they really get me. They understand me. Yeah,
Exactly.
all right, let's jump to the next topic, which is friction and customer experience and how we want to make life easier for our customers. And you and I talked about this when you interviewed me for your virtual event. So now I'm going to flip it back to you, because I know that as we talk about, a lot of times friction is wasting a customer's time, making them do things that they don't need to do, making them wait on hold, for example, which is why a digital solution and AI, a chatbot, that kind of thing is so powerful. Here's a line from you. Customers want speed, but what they really want is a resolution. Customers want it to be easy. I'm paraphrasing, but what they really want is an answer. So as easy as it is, if we don't give them the answer, it doesn't make any difference. As quick as we can get them on the phone without making them stay on hold, if we don't give them the answer, doesn't matter.
Absolutely. When you talk about friction, one of the sad ironies is that a lot of times as businesses scale, they try to do things in the name of efficiency. So whether it's deflection or self-service or whatever, that actually kind of backfire and introduce friction. I'll use legacy chatbots. Despite being an AI person myself, legacy chatbots have had this problem for years. You try and create a system that can automatically respond or help the customer. And we've all been there when it doesn't understand and it's just creating friction, right? And I think this is true in all kind of areas of scale. And so it really is a balancing act, but you should never sacrifice ease and actually getting a correct resolution in the name of efficiency, because that's not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on minimizing that friction. And sometimes that means speed, but sometimes that just means getting a good old-fashioned correct answer to the customer and a correct resolution.
All right. This is big, what you just said. Never sacrifice, whatever. It's efficiency is less important than all the other things that you just mentioned. By the way,
Exactly.
I'm making this point because I want to make sure when I go back and I look at my notes here and I create the recap, that we make sure this is emphasized, because that's big. Never sacrifice for efficiency, because it'll only cause frustration and perhaps loss of the customer. All right, we're basically out of time. I always like to end with my one thing question, and we're going to ask it. I bet you have something up your sleeve. Is there one last nugget of information you'd like to share with us today that you can, we'll walk away and go, wow, that was amazing?
I'd like to double down on people. In amazing businesses, the most important thing that we think about is our people, right? So at the end of the day, we are talking about technology. I'm a technologist, but everything that we have ever done in humanity has been about building technology by people for people. And that, I think, will always be true. So always double down on your people, and you will see the dividends and the returns.
I love that, because somebody in your position might say, hey, AI is the way to go. And back in your mind, you're thinking, eliminate people, just AI. But no, I love it. You've merged it together so beautifully. This is why we call this Amazing Business Radio an amazing interview. Thank you, Deon, for being with us today.
Thank you, Shep. Really excited. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another great interview. We'll be back next week. Please come back. And until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.